Hey everyone, I'm Adam Sweet from Soul Astrology, and today we have edition number 11 of the Anonymous Birth Charts. This is a series in which I do mini bite-sized readings based on charts and questions submitted by you all. It's a really fun way for me to give back with these free mini readings and also show you all how I do astrology. So let me go ahead and share the birth chart. And the question that was submitted alongside this chart says, what do I need to know or focus on right now to make the most of my current opportunities and overcome my biggest obstacles? All right, that is a very mature question. I love that question. Let's go ahead and pull up the transits. Transits are a really good way to get a feeling for what the astrological weather is in the sky right now and how that may be activating certain placements in this native's birth chart. Now, the first thing I notice is that they are an Aquarius rising, which means Pluto is ingressing into their first house. Now, Pluto is the planet that brings empowerment, usually through transformation. And we can then look at what is it aspecting? Well, it is aspecting Mars here by conjunction. Next, we can look at how is Mars situated in this birth chart to get a feeling for what that might be bringing to this native or activating in the native's birth chart. Mars is angular. It is in the first house. It is pretty neutral here in Aquarius as it's not lacking any essential dignity, but it also doesn't have any essential dignity. So it's not in its own domicile or exaltation rulership or fall or detriment. Any of those things are not taking place here. So that's what I mean when I say it's neutral. Now, Mars is able to see both of its domiciles by sextile to Aries and by square to Scorpio. And it is aspecting by whole sign both of the benefic planets. So square to Jupiter and trine to Venus. So I would say that this is a very well situated Mars. And what that often means is that the more positive significations of Mars are going to be brought to the forefront when they are activated. Now, when we think about positive significations of Mars, I think of things like courage, will, or even if we're thinking about the native's body, because this is the first house, athletic endeavors, exercise. We can even think of things like dominance, will, and power. I know those might be kind of intense words to use, but if we think about those just in terms of the native's character, temperament, and personality, and we think of them in a more positive way, it's just how are you enacting your will upon the outside world through who you are as the native, and how is that showing up? Maybe it wasn't there enough. And now Pluto comes along and you feel called to be more assertive. Or maybe you are a very assertive person having Mars in the first house, and Pluto comes along and you realize, yeah, I might need to tone that down a little bit, or I might need to learn how to be a more effective communicator. Maybe somebody who's not so aggressive, or maybe somebody who has a really good way of communicating in a firm, direct, and concise way, but that is being very respectful of others. I have no doubt that that is probably important to this native, as they also have the moon here in the first house. The moon is the planet of mothers and nurturing. So when you have Mars and the moon together, co-present in the first house, I always think of that kind of mama bear energy or that fiercely nurturing energy. So, Mars in this chart rules the 10th house and the third house. The 10th house is that house of our public reputation and our career. The third house is the house of the environment that we live in, the culture, even our neighborhood. Those are all significations that we found in the third house. And when Mars is in the first, saying something about the native's character, temperament, personality, and their body, and we see it activating or ruling the 10th and the 3rd, then what we could say is that how this native shows up in the world through those martial characteristics that we discussed may be showing up in their workplace or their public reputation and in the community environment and culture that they are a part of. So this could be anything from, hey, now you're the guy or girl who's exercising every morning in your neighborhood, and people in your public reputation or people in your career are noticing that, hey, you look really good. It looks like you've been exercising. Or this could be that you are now the person who decides to join your child's PTA group and you are speaking up more, and your public reputation is being known as somebody who is not afraid to speak their mind and bring your opinions to the forefront to make changes in your community. Those are just a few archetypal examples that I hope you can take and sort of extrapolate the information you need out of that to see how those martial qualities may be showing up for you in terms of your own body, your character, your temperament, and how those interface with your public reputation and your community. Okay, there's one other thing that I want to show here for testimony that I think just provides an interesting lens to look at this all through. And I always like to look at zodiacal releasing, as I think that that's just another layer. It gives us like timing techniques about when these things might be like really expressing themselves. So let me share the zodiacal releasing sheet here. And the first thing I want to point out is we're releasing from the lot of Spirit, which has to do with solar things like career, like our drive and motivation out in the world. And look at this. Next September, so next fall, we are changing level 1 periods. These are big dramatic shifts in our lives as they go by in years. As you can see, this native's 38 and they've only gone through 3 level 1 changes by next fall. Now, Aquarius is the sign here, and Aquarius is that sign that is on their first house. So we would call this a level 1 first house Aquarius period. And remember, that is the same place that we see Pluto ingressing and aspecting that natal Mars. Now, if I go back to the birth chart, let me go ahead and share that one more time. And let me dial up those transits for that particular zodiacal releasing change, September 20th, 2026. And I calculate those. And what do we have? We have the fact that natal Mars is now being very closely aspected by that transiting Pluto. So I would imagine by next fall, there is going to be a real blossoming of that natal karma around these martial characteristics and affecting your career, public reputation, and the community that you find yourself in. All right. I hope everyone found that useful and we did some really good work for the native today. If any of you are interested in a mini bite-sized reading like the one you saw here, it's free. Just send me an email to adam@soulastrology.com and send me your birth data as well as the question, and we'll go ahead and take a look at it. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you watching today. Have a good one. Take care and bye.